crypto investors, you have to watch this video. This new token launched less than a week ago and has absolutely taken over the crypto space.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Jake Gagan Show. Happy to have all of you guys here. We have a special guest today. The Pangu, Pudgy Penguins CEO, Luca Netz, is in the chat. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Luca, how are we doing, brother? It is good to meet you.
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for coming on, man. And I appreciate it. I know you got a lot going on. Busy day in crypto and excited to introduce your project. It's an incredible project, and you to my audience. And this is the first time that we've connected. I think we've DM'd a couple times, but first time we've connected. So very, very happy to have you on here. First off, what's your take? You just saw what took place with Jerome Powell. For those that don't know, the FOMC meeting took place about an hour ago. A lot of volatility. What's your first take seeing happen with Jerome Powell cutting basis points by 25%?
I'm probably a little biased and would love him to change the stance and start cutting more. Yeah, I think we all knew 25 basis points was coming, and I think that's why you're getting a little bit of the lackadaisical market reaction. They already priced it in. What they wanted to see was 50, right? That would have been great.
That would be great as well. I agree, it was priced in. I think that you get a lot of things priced in, and kind of investors know ahead of time, especially when you have these markets and like Poly Market that have predicted many things correctly, right? And they had it priced in at 98%. But I thought I would start there. A lot of the audience wanted to hear your thoughts. But when it comes to Pudgy Penguins and Pangu, what's the whole story? How'd you find Pudgy Penguins a couple of years ago, and what made you guys want to acquire this company?
I think for us, I was a big holder of Pudgy Penguin NFTs. I viscerally just closed my eyes and I pictured Pudgy Penguins, and to me it was $1 billion brand. I loved penguins growing up. Penguins were always funny. They were always mimetic, right? Nobody owned penguins. And I was a big holder, and I always believed. I thought it was the most universal identity within crypto. If PFPs were the next Veblen good and status symbol, then, cute and universal appeal was going to matter, because I thought, both men and women and all age demographics could work with it. And I kind of took a big bet. I think like the business side of it was like, I saw all these guys raising huge money from community and venture, and I was just like not impressed. I was like, none of what you guys are doing is hard, and I think I can do a better job. I think we've since shown that over the last couple of years, and we've been able to do that with exponentially less resources. So I think that thesis was true at the time. And yeah, I felt like just I believe in this space. I believe in where it's going, but I just, I just didn't think the people that were currently at the helm of the major projects were doing what was, ultimately what I thought this stuff should look like. So rather than complaining and bitching, I decided to step up to the plate, put my money where my mouth is. I also told myself that I needed to take a big risk. I was kind of like an opportunist entrepreneur, kind of a guy who did a little bit of everything, but never really did one thing. So I knew how to make money, right? But I didn't really have like a thing that I just felt really proud about, right? And this was my moment to shine. And I knew if I put the money up that I wouldn't quit, or I wouldn't pivot if things got tough. I was kind of like, going through adversity my whole life. Like once I started to make money, I was like, I don't really want adversity, but adversity breeds greatness. So here we are, and yeah, the rest is history.
Absolutely. How much did you guys put up when you purchased Pudgy Penguins?
$2.5 million was it what it took to buy the project.
Wow, that's a lot of money to put up. Do you have? I mean, there's so many different facets of Pudgy Penguins. Do we have like a valuation right now at this current date for it?
I mean, I could sell a lot of Igloo equity for sure at $1 billion all day.
Wow.
I could sell Igloo equity at $1 billion all day.
Wow. Insane. Yeah. And I think that you're spot on. I've been in the space for 7 years, and there are a lot of people, especially in the meme coin space, that weren't really doing this correctly. Right. A lot of people just They launch a meme coin. It's just a meme coin. There's no utility. There's nothing being built behind it. You guys have a pretty robust ecosystem. Where did it all start, though? Because obviously we'll get into Pangu, we'll get into abstract, we'll get into the NFTs, but obviously it started with the NFTs. Were you the one that kind of came out with the toys for Pudgy Penguins? And I know it's in a lot of incredible stores right now as well.
Yeah, the toys was like the big moment for us, right? So it wasn't even the toys, it was the licensing of the IP for the toys. Because here we are, this company that has like less money than everybody else. This kid just bought this project and like he's gonna go and build a real business. And his first move when he builds this real business is including the holders in the real business, right? And then to follow it up with Walmart and Target and now 10,000 stores and millions of products sold, it was just like a really amazing form of symbolism. But it was the licensing element where people were like, oh wow, all these huge collections who just made $1 billion, $500 million, $100 million on us are making products and they're keeping all the profits. And this guy hasn't made shit. He's in the hole and he's doing it the right way. A lot of what you're going to see about the story of Pudgy Penguins is the symbolic principle of how we built this versus the next guy, right? Like so much of our success is predicated, I think, on that. And then obviously the execution that like puts the meat on the bone and solidifies the thesis. But a lot of it is the symbolic way of how we did it, right? The inner igloos every 2 weeks, right? But the big thing for us was the moment where like people started taking us seriously was licensing and toys and that, being coming to life via alchemy of just like this digital, thing is now a physical thing and holders are winning off of that.
Crazy. It's epic. I mean, most people like back in the day, 2021, they launched an NFT project. That was it. I think 99.9% failed. You guys kept building, but to get in stores like Walmart, Target, how do you do that in such a short amount of time? I think it took like a year to 18 months to get into Walmart, probably the biggest chain in America and maybe around the world. How do you do that? How do you get Pudgy Penguins into Walmart in 18 months? Or I think it was 18 months. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so prior I had it was a little less than 18 months, like 16 months. I had Walmart's best-selling outdoors product prior. So my business before this was a company called Gel Blaster, kind of innovated and pioneered this category between like Nerf and Airsoft. So it was a big win for us. But, that wasn't enough to get in. How we got into Walmart really was I went to Bentonville. They told me no at the meeting. That was a waste of time. Not a waste of time, but I was upset. Then we went on Amazon and we sold $500,000 worth in like the first like couple hours. Wow. And we sent that to Laura Rush, who was the head of merchandising at the time. And she was super kind and like a real supporter of me. So I had a lot of gratitude for her. And I sent her that and I was like, look, like we're proving the thesis. You want to be ahead of this curve. She basically says, look, if you can get this many pallets, basically 1 million individual toys, 2,000 pallets, 1 million individual toys within 100 days, she'll put me in Q4, basically in the aisle via a pallet program, which is like the most prestigious form of real estate. And so just shout out to people who bought those toys on Amazon for the first time. But I gamed it. I told the community this. It was like a whole plan. I was like, community, we're launching on Amazon. It's not that, I need to rig the algorithm. And I knew Amazon is an you can, just like, it's like, and search engine optimization, you can engineer it. And the way you engineer it is like lots of sales and lots of traffic very quickly. Right. And I told him, I was like, look, if all of you guys get all of your friends and family on the day this launches, which is 2 weeks from now, and we all do it at the same time, we will be #1 across all categories. If we're #1 across all categories, it will sell itself. If it sells itself, it's going to give me the leverage to go and deal make. And it worked just as planned. Sometimes we have this lore within the company. Sometimes I draw it up like Bill Belichick and it goes just and that was one of the ones where I drew it up like Belichick and it went according to plan.
That's insane. Yeah. Congrats on that. That's wild. Walmart, Target, GameStop, Hot Topic. I mean, I remember seeing the NFT project and then seeing you guys launch the actual token. It was, one of the most insane launches and airdrops that we've ever seen in the crypto space. I think it's the 8th largest airdrop of all time, and you airdropped over 50% of the supply to your holders. What went into that? Because we saw. Back when I got NFTs, I don't think I ever even sold an NFT. I got a couple of mutant apes. I got the artifacts, but the ape coin did a pretty big airdrop. I think it was a couple months or maybe a year before you guys did. What was the idea behind rewarding your holders and rewarding it with a token?
Yeah, so there were a couple things, and the thought process was pretty deep. The first one is I wanted to be, from a percentage of supply basis, the most generous, right? Like I'm in the business of leading and pioneering, but I'm also in the business of making that sure that everybody knows, whether they're in NFTs or in meme coins, that there's one bet to make, right? And the bet is here. And if you make the bet anywhere else, you're going to underperform, because the other guy is not thinking of it the same way through the same competitive lens that I am, which is everything that the next person has done, I'm going to do better, right? And so obviously market conditions were different, but I basically looked at the airdrops that other communities given, and I came to the conclusion that I had to give Pudgy Penguins 25% of the supply throughout the whole ecosystem, which from an NFT perspective had never been done before. Nobody had given even close to that much actual percentage of supply to their holders. But on the other side of it, I then came to the conclusion that if I gave Pudgy Penguin holders 25% of the supply, nobody's going to want to buy this token, right? Because nobody wants to buy a token that literally Pudgy Penguins are just selling on your head. And it's not really this inclusive face of crypto, we are for the people, by the people type of story. It's actually just Luca's benefiting his holders. Everyone else can go get screwed. They're going to dump on their head. And when I was thinking of Pangu, I always reference the GCR lore, right? The GCR lore, basically, like I won't harp on it too much, but he has a tweet that basically says if Pudgy Penguins is a token, i.e. Pangu, it will flip Doge. And if I were to do Pangu, it had to be in that same spirit. And so understanding what it takes to flip Doge, the nucleus and the story, right, that is the face of crypto, that is the people's coin, that is for the people, by the people, right, had to actually embody that. And airdropping all that supply just to Pudgy Penguin holders didn't make any sense. And it made it like really just it wouldn't have worked. I promise you it wouldn't have worked. So then we nutted up and we thought, well, if they're going to give 25% to Pudgy Penguins, you got to give 25% to everybody else. And theoretically, right, it's a big risk. It's a big bald risk, right? And the big bald risk is like, this is my baby. I've been working on it for 3.5 years. You know, candidly speaking, my alignment is in that token. Like, I want to see it do well. You know, if this thing does not do well, it's a huge step back for the business, a huge step back for the brand, and a huge step back for the community. You know, we are in a position where we basically like this thing is make or break. Like, this is the inflection point. And the problem and the way that the math shakes out, which I actually understand for people listening, like the founder perspective of doing a low float high FDV is very advantageous, right? For personal success. Everyone hates the low float high FDV, $1 billion token, 10 billion FDV. But like, if you're actually a founder and you're in those shoes, I promise you there isn't a community member listening that's not going to take that bet. Most would not be like, I'm going to put all on the line to this fully floated thing. But I had 2 or 3 theses that justified it. One was I value distribution above all else, right? Distribution, marketing, eyeballs. At the end of the day, all this shit is supply and demand. And how do you get distribution and how do you get eyeballs and attention? That's why airdrops have been very good, is because they did that, right? The thing is mercenaries have come into the airdrop space. You know, it doesn't have the same relationship it once did, but that was the beauty of airdrops. Everyone had a good taste in their mouth, right? By like Uniswap and things like that when the airdrop meta was first coming. So distribution above all else, I was like, that was the first justification. The second one was the story, right? Can't be for the people, by the people, and not give it to the people, right?
True.
And so that was the second one, was like, well, you got to embody what you preach, right? Everyone can talk the talk, but not many people can walk the walk. And then the third one was something a guy named Andrew Kang told me in Dubai, and I respect him just as an investor. And he said, dude, like, no one wants to buy these low float high FDVs. It's a long-term investment. People can trade them, right? And they're good trades, but nobody's holding these things long-term, right? And so, you know, with Pudgy Penguins, Pangu, yeah, there's some team supply and, you know, things like that. But like, you know, it's as close to as liquid float as you're going to get. Especially with like high integrity coins that like actually mean something, that have like real teams that are pushing real boundaries, that are doing real things for the space, right? We're definitely up there, if not the highest one, in terms of, you know, you can really hold this long term without like huge emissions on the back end. And that was the story. And it worked out really well for us, actually. I mean, dude, when was the last time you saw an airdrop even remotely close to that magnitude basically go up and to the right for the first 4 weeks? Now, we got really bad beats with Trump, Melania, and Libra. Everyone looks at the chart and is like, what happened there? I mean, people were calling me a scammer. It was insane, because I was like, wow, I actually was really hurt during that time. Maybe we get into it, maybe we don't. but it was like everything was going right. And then Trump did the tariff bullshit. Then Trump, Melania, Libra. And it's like every coin that was mimetic had a 90% drawdown in the same time. And then obviously we rallied, we brought it back, and obviously long ways to go. I mean, a lot of milestones to hit. A lot of again, whether we're at 5 billion or 1 billion or 500 million, the plan is to flip Doge. I'm here for the next 10 years. So, but that airdrop was a beast, and how it happened. I'm going on a tangent, but it's good information. Trump got elected. My dog died the next day, and the day after that, I said we're doing a token.
Wow.
And we did basically. So November 9th, we came to that conclusion. December 16th, we launched it. Why that matters is because I have to put our sacrifice on the table. And like, dude, just go back to the dates on those times. Every video we were releasing, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 million views, clinic, Pixar level animations, just like insane Art Basel party, all of it, 5-week sprint, all the listings,
wow.
all the, to actually do that, basically start to finish in 5 weeks. And we pulled it off, Herculean effort. And it was the moment, I think, of 2024. I think it'd be hard to refute.
Insane. You guys might be the project in terms of the crypto space, not just Memecoin, of 2024. I mean, I remember when you guys went live back in December, I think it ran up to like 2 billion. It went crazy. And I do remember the times because it dropped down to 300 million around that. And I remember everyone, because I was talking about Pangu on my streams. I'm a Pangu holder. Everybody was saying that it's over. I can't believe you bought this. And then the comeback that you guys have had has been incredible. I mean, first off, I do want to talk about the time, because you mentioned it, of when everybody was coming at you. Like, when people are coming at you online, calling you a scammer, when you're building, you're not scamming anyone. Does that motivate you? Does it upset you? What does it do to you?
This one upset me, most of the things, because I had just done what everybody had preached every founder to do, which is give it all to the people.
Crazy.
It was so disrespectful, because here I am, $2.5 million into this business. I've been shaking hands, going to every conference, kissing every baby, doing everything right, not extracting. At any moment in time, I could have minted, pudgy giraffes, and made $50 million and capitalized the business and not have to fight tooth and claw for everything that we had, right? Doing everything the right way, right? They wanted transparency. I got a YouTube series documenting the whole thing. The whole thing is transparent. It's the most transparent ecosystem in crypto, bar none. And then when it came down for my incentive, I thought about the people again. I put it all on the line for the people, right? I gave them all, everything. And then for them to misconceptualize all of that in the tariff nonsense and literally grave dancing on me, bro, tagging me, really being like, ha, ha, ha. It was the most disrespectful. We were the project. That was the most disrespectful moment in crypto all time, probably top 5 ever from CT all time. And they don't think about it the way that I think about it, but I'll never forget. And I changed a lot. A lot of me changed that.
Really?
That happened.
Does it motivate you though? Or does it just like, because I mean, here's the thing too, when it comes to these people online, bro, there's so many just idiots online that are unhappy, and they'll, I mean, even right now, there's people talking shit. It's like, it's just what happens online. But does that motivate you when you're giving it your all and they're grave dancing and saying that Pengu is going to zero? Does it motivate you? Does it light a fire? It sounds like you already have a fire lit that like can't go out regardless.
It made me angry. It made me angry, but I always shoot people straight. It didn't motivate me the same way that like, a competitor meme
like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. They're talking shit to Kobe.
Yeah. Like that's different. That's like my bag's better than yours. And I'm like, yeah, you're just so naive and dumb. And like, I will make sure you rue the day you say that, versus like a dude literally giving 3.5 years of his hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and handing it in everybody's wallets. A lot of the core communities, like, they don't deserve it. And that was like a whole other drama and stint. And for them to like, that it was just anger, bro. It was not like, I'm gonna go prove you wrong. It was I was gonna prove them wrong just because like I'm a lot like, dude, it's my baby. So basically what happened was at the bottom, I told my co-founders, I was like, dude, we're gonna bankrupt this business saving this thing. I don't care because until the taboo with tokens permanently goes away, like I compromised really, at the time, like the equity, or so I thought. Like now I have different perspectives and how I look at things. But at the time, my mindset was like, our equity is segued into here. Like I would argue by doing this token, our ability to exit or, accrue value, like it would just, we took a lot of chips off the table in a certain respect. And I was like,
For sure.
well, I'm not gonna just do this. Like if this thing is dead like this, right? So I just backed up the Brinks truck. I bought some of the token,
Wow.
we just went all in. We're like, we're just gonna put all our brain and thinking power into fixing this thing. Whatever that means, right? Whatever you can I don't even know what that means really, but we fixed it. And that's the rest
as you have to. And I think the difference there is like when times get bad, I see a lot of founders and developers start to sell. Like you guys put more money in and probably save the project, because if you guys, the team, all decided to sell when it was at 250 million, there would be no Pengu, right? It would be,
for sure,
potentially, right? And I think that's what most developers do, is like when it gets tough, they don't put more money into the project when they've already put 2.5 million. They end up taking money out. So kudos to you for that. I want to talk about the virality, because I think this is something that you've mentioned quite a bit, but I just saw a graphic here on X that you guys have had 250 billion views. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. The Penguins have been seen 250 billion times. Why have you guys made it such a important metric, and why have you guys made it so important to capitalize on these views, for Pangu across all social media platforms?
And I think what I'm about to say is relevant to all coins, but let's just look at meme coins. And this is like why Pangu will flip Doge. Like I'd just be remiss and my brain would fry if it like might end up dying, and that wasn't the case. Because all the other memes are not, and I say this respectfully because I want all of those communities to win, but to assess Pangu versus the rest is to compare apples and oranges. You have a true viral, sentient, progressive meme in Pangu, in which its cultural metrics are up and to the right, and the championing of the viewership displays that. Pengu.pudgypenguins.com displays that in a way that, to be frank, there hasn't been a meme this cycle. And I would even argue the incumbents like Doge and Pepe, right? Like Pepe, still has a lot of relevancy. More, it's actually pretty crazy how relevant, how much staying power it's had in culture. But Doge is not culturally relevant anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I would argue that like I'd be super bearish Doge. I just don't think Doge is on the same path it was. I think the whole government thing has commingled the meme, right? Like I just think, when I think Doge, I think like, okay, government efficiency program. And it was funny at the time, don't get me wrong. But I think like its cultural relevancy is peaked, and I would argue its financial relevancy is peaked. And this is all love and respect to the pioneer that is the Doge community and the Doge meme. Rest in peace, that pup, right? But nonetheless, right, like that, I'm just looking at it from an objective, analytical perspective, right? When I'm assessing the statement, because I can't say something like I'm going to flip Doge or I believe that if I actually don't believe it. I'm not a liar, right? So I'm not going to sit here and it hurts me more to lie, right? Because like I can't fake it. You'll just see it in my like, I can't be passionate about it. So when I underwrite these things and I assess like the things that I believe around our business, around our IP, I have to like speak truthfully. Like when I came into Pudgy Penguins, right, for the first time, I wasn't saying that within a year we were better than Bored Apes, because we weren't, right? Like we hadn't proven ourselves. Today, I'll tell you, it's impossible to say we're not the number one NFT project, and it's impossible to say we're not the number one meme. But the thought process behind the meme and the viewership is it's in the data, right? We're actually a meme. Why? Because GIFs are basically mimetic forms of expressions that are ingrained and embedded in all the messaging apps and all the social media apps, right? And we are the fastest growing Giphy account of all time, and we'll be the number one in 12 months.
Crazy.
Same thing with Tenor. Same thing with these other places, and they're all memes, right? Like this is not content that's not mimetic. It's mimetic content that quite literally is getting 1 billion views a day now, 900 million just about. And it's insane. So my defense to the statement that is, or my thesis and my supporting facts as to why I think Pengu does eventually become the most valuable meme coin is rooted in data, because the data tells me that our cultural relevancy and our mimetic relevancy is up and to the right. And I believe that as long as that remains true and our token remains deflationary, right, year over year, which I'm committed to doing, right? So far this year, already burned 13, 14%. So, if I can just if cultural relevancy goes up and token supply goes down, eventually you do the, just supply and demand chart, and you just see what happens when those two things happen over a certain time, right? They converge and you win, and you become and you become more valuable than the person who's not doing that. Doge is also inflationary, right? For people who don't know, inflates about $3 to $5 million a day. And again, I'm speaking this through an analytical perspective, gun to the head. I have so much respect for everything that anybody has done in any community who's not ours. But I also have to, stand by the work and the effort and the resources we put into making that fact true, right? We're just, no other organization is doing that in this category the way that we are.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anybody similar to you. You have Bonk, which is doing a lot. They built a pretty robust ecosystem, but not even on the scale. I mean,
Bonk is an amazing, and I'm going to be honest, like I talked to their founder, me and Nam were really cool. And then I didn't like the way our last conversation went. I just thought it was super arrogant, if I'm being frank. But like, the difference between us and Bonk, the bull case for Pangu is the IP. Like, nobody's IP comes close, and Bonk is just not an IP driven. But where Bonk has us beat is in the enterprise businesses in crypto that they've built. I mean, Bonk Bot, Bonk Fund. Yep. I mean, they've made hundreds of millions of dollars. And no matter how I think our last conversation went, is beyond me. I will always pay homage and respect an entrepreneur who can make hundreds of millions of dollars. And they really did that. And they did that. And they story told around the time where Solana really needed it, and they pioneered, and they will always lead that. The difference to me will always come down to the IP, and that's what I think will separate us from the bunch. Is just like IP power. People know that penguin silhouette more than I think they know anything else in crypto, maybe the exception of Pepe. I think you still got to give Pepe the lead in that respect.
It's close.
That frog, but that frog is still everywhere. I don't know how.
The frog is everywhere, but I mean, so is Pudgy Penguins. I mean, I think you see it all the time, but like from someone like me, right, that is on Twitter all day, bro, I've seen the penguin everywhere. Every single crypto account, Solana, Van Eck. I saw it this morning. I was watching a Solana ad, great Solana ad. We got the penguin sitting on Wall Street. I think he's the first 10 seconds the penguin comes up. So I think although the frog is everywhere, I mean, it's very amenable. Pudgy Penguins, in my opinion, in terms of mind share, I think it might be a little bit more, just being honest, like from my perspective. And everybody has a different perspective. Everyone has a different algorithm.
I would say the data would probably support that. I do a lot of finger to the wind stuff. Finger to the wind is like, I want people to know that like I'm trying to give like really objective analytical takes, right? I'm not trying to just say we're the bad. Like Pepe is epic. It's still everywhere, right? It is still everywhere. I would think, if there was any comp, it would be that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think those two are doing good. So what's your take on some of these meme coins? I mean, Pepe is one of them that have like no utility, no ecosystem. They're simply just a meme.
I think there's a couple incumbents that will win. I think Pepe, hard to beat. There's actually a new one on Solana, Troll. It's still, and I'm not one to show like new tokens, but like if that is the de facto Troll token, like that is valuable, right? It is Pepe-esque. I do think I think the thesis between Pudgy's, Pengu, mimetic, social currency, and those pure memes is ultimately I'm of the belief that non-sentient memes cannot beat sentient memes. And so I think there's only one other sentient meme out there right now, which is Bonk, right? And I think over time, if I were to say what is going to perform better over a multi-year horizon, is it Pepe and Doge versus Bonk and Pangu? I would tell you, I think Bonk and Pangu is going to win performance-wise at today's prices, right? I just do because there's a force, right? There's 100 people behind Pudgy Penguins making it a force, and we're going to put this thing everywhere, right? And nobody's making Pepe a force, right? Arguably, Matt Fury is the anti the force that is the Pepe coin.
I agree with that.
And Doge, like there's no force. Elon was the force, right?
Yep.
But the force has now been commingled with the government program. So like are you betting on like you know, and then I'm thinking, well, like, you just can't beat that, right? You can't, because eventually the views are going to keep compounding. Eventually that number is going to be 1 trillion.
Crazy.
Right? Eventually this thing's going to be in McDonald's and movies and TV shows and on Netflix and everywhere. Like, eventually that's going to happen. And that will never happen with those guys. So, like, you know, but like, that's not utility. That's just IP adoption. It's cultural relevancy, right? Like, the kicker for what makes Pepe valuable is what? It's cultural relevancy. What made Doge a meme that appealed to Elon was what? It's cultural relevancy, right? The problem with a meme that isn't sentient and doesn't have a machine behind it is its cultural relevancy eventually plateaus and declines. And I would argue that Pepe is probably plateaued. I don't think it's in decline. And I would say Doge is in decline, right? And based on those two, but like, if I was behind Pepe, the coin, or behind Doge, the coin, I promise you its cultural relevancy would come back, right? I would take that thing to a whole nother level and stratosphere, and you would have Doge amusement parks, and you'd be fucking insane. You'd have no idea what the fuck was going on, right? You'd be like mind boggled. And that, I think, is the difference, is eventually a short term, maybe one whale buys this coin versus the other. These fluctuations I've learned the hard way I can't control. What I can control is year-over-year performance, and I don't think anyone will beat us in that respect.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, what you guys are building is insane. Like, you really are. It's that social currency, because I see it everywhere, and like, I don't think that we've ever had, correct me if I'm wrong, have we ever had a meme coin tied to something like this? That's in every single store, in movies. Every time I go on Twitter, I see it at parties, at rap concerts. Like, has there ever been a meme coin? Like, we might have had some sort of cultural icon that's been there, right? Like something from TikTok that went viral. But have we ever had a meme coin, a top 5 meme coin in that? That's socially accepted.
And that's what I told the community, and I'll tell your community this as well, which is like, that's why, as much as, like, you know, some people might not like me or might not like a community member in Pudgy Penguins, or right, but like, you have to understand that regardless if you're bag aligned or you like me or, you know, whatever that is, I think everyone can agree that memes doing nothing is not good for the space. And that if all memes followed the lead of Pudgy Penguins Pangu, the space would be better off for it.
For sure.
And
100%.
For that to happen, Pangu has to win, because crypto is an industry that only follows the leader, right? This is not an industry that is big on doing something net. I mean, it's ironic because crypto in itself is a net new thing, but like, you know, there's a reason why everyone is a general purpose blockchain. Why? Because they're following Ethereum and they want to accrue value the same way. If and when Pangu is the biggest meme in the world, right? Meme coin in the world, it will be huge for everyone's bags, and will be a huge step forward, a step forward for the space. Because what will that will then signal to everyone who's building culture in crypto, whether it's memes or NFTs, that will then signal to them, hey, if we want to accrue value the same way that these guys accrued value, we're going to have to do real products, movies, TV shows, games, licensing, symbolic community alignment. You know, we're going to have to fucking stand in the cold and shake hands. We're going to have to fucking actually work fucking hard. And that's going to be good for everyone, right?
It's amazing.
Like, yeah, it's going to be great. And then that's going to be more IP and more memorable experiences for family members. More of the new generation is going to be within the space. It's going to be a huge win for everyone. And that's why I say, like,
I agree.
Look, everyone's got to be rooting for this thing, whether we airdropped you or if you didn't get an airdrop. Like, just because if you believe and want crypto to win, we have to be the de facto price leader, because people only chase the price and builders only chase the price. And if we're number 1 or even number 2, like, I think, you know, Doge, I'm going to be realistic. Like, Doge is a beast, right? And it's a dino coin, and it has legacy, and it has lore, and it has culture, and it has Elon. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'll tell you the one that has to happen is Shiba Inu. That has to happen. That
flippening, is that what you're saying?
Broken. Yeah.
Are you saying what has to happen? The flippening of
Shiba is just like that. That, as long as like Pepe should be above Shiba too, but no one's championing that mission. But it needs to go Doge, Pengu, Pepe, Shiba, and then Trump. And then we'll get to the rest. And then Bonk. And then, but that's how it should, that's a normal order. I think everyone listening to this will be like, yeah, that's probably right. Right? Like that's clearly broken. And then the Doge flip, is really going to come down to like, we're going to have to do something magical. And I think we are, right? But like Shiba
done a lot of great things
too. That's just not good for the space. That's not good for crypto.
Yeah, you've done a lot of great things. So right now, just a quick look at the market cap today, October 29th, 2025. Dogecoin right around 30 billion. SHIB 6.1 billion. Pepe above 3 billion. Trump 1.68. And then Pangu at 1.3 billion. How do you think something like Doge has held up so well? I mean, at $30 billion market cap, all-time high was 89.
Legacy, Elon. I know a guy who put $20 million in a Doge. And I remember his thesis to me, and it was the dumbest thesis I had ever heard, but it was like predicated around like Elon being the creator of Bitcoin. And he put like $20 million on Robinhood into Doge. It's just like how well it's just like a lot of guys are in that, right? And it's I don't even get it because of the inflation or anything. I don't get it, but I don't get a lot of things.
It was just first, and sometimes the first mover tends to win. But yeah, you guys are looking good. A top 61 token, which is insane. I think you're right. I mean, just first off, you're very articulate. You're a great speaker, but I agree. It's like after seeing all of these meme coins that have launched and rug and people lose money, it's like we're so much safer, right? And I mean, any meme coin is risky, but we're so much safer parking our money in something like Pangu and then actually joining a community, supporting this community while you guys are actually building. Like a docs developer, and I think you said you have 100 people working who are building, getting partnerships with these massive companies. And it's like I just see so many people taking a huge hit in the meme coin space right now because they're buying live new pairs, buying tokens that are a day old, waiting for a tweet from someone. When in reality, it doesn't need to be stressful. Like, dude, in 2021, I was able to sleep for months without selling a meme coin, without worrying about it. Now it's like you gotta check it every hour, every second. And I think that we need to kind of move back. I agree with you. We need to move back to being able to sleep on our bags and support a good project and a founding team that are actually doing good in this space.
Yeah, and look, dude, this is crypto. Everything's volatile. I mean, you look at my chart, man. I drew down 90%. I'm not going to say, but like we also came back, and that I'm going to do everything I physically can. And so you either believe in our track record, you believe in the sacrifices and the accomplishments I've already brought to the space, and you're going to believe me when I say it's only going to get bigger and better, and you're going to make that analysis and you're going to make that self-judgment on yourself of like, if this is, you make that own analysis. Like obviously like people make their own decisions, but like comparatively, like I agree with your sentiment, right? Which is like, dude, I'm going to do it all. Right. And like, depending on how you value what all of those things are, now we can't really comp it because it's never been done, but it sounds logically obvious, right? Like it sounds like it makes sense compared to maybe the next one. And so like that's our differentiating factor. And that's why I think ultimately like we're going to see the success that we're going to see.
Yeah. I mean, for me, and I'm being honest, I am a holder, but I've never work with you guys, not paid by you guys, but looking at these top tokens, it's like, it's probably number one on my list. And you even have good ones like Dogecoin, SHIB, Pepe. I hold, I got in pretty early to that, but like no one's doing what you guys are doing in the entire space. And I'm being just honest, just transparent. Like no one is doing what you guys are doing. You said flipping Dogecoin. Do you have a timeline? I feel like you're a guy that has like goals and timelines, and you seem like you're good at manifesting some things. Like, do you have a timeline for a date in mind? Is it this cycle? Is it next cycle? What do you think?
Let's do a day. Let's just do a day. Let's do a day because maybe we do some Simpsons shit and it's pretty crazy. Let's do the math here.
So today is October 29th, 2025. If this is some Simpsons stuff and Pangu does flip Dogecoin on the exact date,
I would say December 24th, 2028.
December 24th, 2028 is the date. If that happens,
it's a big flip. I mean, obviously, like, you know what I mean? Like, look, it's a 25x.
Yeah. Yeah. And if this does happen, the current market cap is 29 billion for Dogecoin. Pangu's 1.3 billion. So December 24th, Christmas Eve, 2028. If it does, Luca is he's from the future.
I am from the future.
we shall see what happens there. And then I do want to touch on Abstract. I know you got a couple more minutes left, but for those that don't know, what exactly is Abstract and what are you guys building there?
Yeah, it's our blockchain. We've been building it for a year. Mainnet's been live for 8 months. I think one of the biggest things you see today, if you were to go to portal.abs.xyz, is I think we've solved one of crypto's biggest problems, which is the consumer journey problem. We really want to bring fun back to the EVM. It's a great platform. I think if you experience it for the first time, you're going to be really just like, it's how crypto should have always been, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm really, I think, you know, we've been working on something for the last couple of months here. You know, abstract blockchains like ebb and flow. Some weeks it's good, some weeks it isn't. But we have something on the abstract side that, like, when we call it Project Quantum internally, and when Project Quantum sees the light of day, because I know there were, we've been working really hard on this Project Quantum. I think when people see it, it's gonna be one of the greatest moments from any blockchain ever. From just like I don't even know what to call it. We just call it Project Quantum, and I think people are gonna see it and be like, "Damn, that's what you guys have been working on this whole time." It's pretty freaking insane. So, it's a great community. I think we have some of the best IPs in from a chain ecosystem perspective. I mean, there's some amazing coins, there's some amazing NFT projects. I think we have some really, really fun and innovative games. Death.fun, Gotcha. There's a couple really great, Cambria, On-Chain Heroes. From a gaming and fun perspective, I think we're up there, top 2 or 3 at least, I would think. And it's a great ecosystem right now. Just speaking candidly, I think recently we kind of hit a little bit of a low spot. Just some of the meme coins stopped doing well, so people were complaining. But Abstract does everything in crypto does this, and I think we kind of already hit our bottom. And I think I think Abstract's going to see new all-time highs here in terms of sentiment and just motion and momentum going into the new year. I'm pretty confident.
Absolutely. I've actually I wasn't able to log in on this because I think I had it on my trading computer, but I have an account and I've bought a couple meme coins on Abstract. So very cool what you are building there. Final question. Where do you think we go this cycle? Just curious your opinion. Obviously, we're not going to hold you to it, but half my timeline is bearish, half my timeline is bullish. For me personally, I mean, I just hold in spot and hold long-term. I might take profits at the peak, right? I've been selling a little bit here or there, but I'm long-term bullish on crypto. Where do you think we go? I mean, people are saying the cycle's top. People say we go till 2026. What's your honest opinion and where you think we're going?
I'm bullish, but but we'll get invalidated here before I think if by January, we're not at new highs. Like I think that will invalidate it. So I do think these next couple of months are super important. I think you just got to watch it. But these next couple of months, I think the direction that it picks will be the direction, right? Yep. And I would say above 125 or below 100, like that's your direction for end of year targets. Like whatever, if it's above 125, the trend is intact. If it's below 100, the trend has failed, and just expect more pain and start hedging and start closing. And I think going into the new year, you'll have your definitive direction for 2026.
Yeah, and if we go down, then we buy more at the all-time lows. But I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you coming on. It was good connecting with you. And I've heard some of your interviews, but you definitely impressed me. And I was already bullish on Pangu and everything you're doing, but now I'm more bullish, and I want to support it even more because you're right. Like I see so many people getting wrecked in the meme coin space, literally left and right. And in reality, all they have to do is buy a good meme coin, 1 or 2 good meme coins, maybe Pangu. They can sleep well at night, and they can let you do all the hard work instead of them staying up till 3 a.m. in the trenches. So I think it's an interview that a lot of people need to see, and I appreciate you coming on, man. I know you have a pretty busy calendar. So thank you so much. That is Luca Netz with Pudgy Penguins. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
have
man.
a good day.